Welcome to Backbreaking News. This is Comic Cookie 73, and today we're doing some hot takes. And I'm going to see if I agree with these hot takes or not. And ultimately, I'm going to give the reason why, and we might do couple of these. So let's begin with the first one. Pineapple does belong on pizza. That silence should give you the answer, because it doesn't. I do not agree with this. Pineapple does not belong on the pizza. It's one of the 7 worst things you could ever do to an Italian food, and you want me to tell you what? That, to me, is a disgrace to food, and, it's an insult to my taste buds. Sweet and salty are okay, but sweet and savory, they don't go together whatsoever. Tomatoes and pineapple in no world ever go together. Especially cooked, non-boiled, on a pizza. Okay. Okay, school teachers almost do nothing useful for real life. Now, here's where I might have to. This one, I'll politely disagree with. As much as we hate math, basic math is at least important. But like certain jobs, when am I ever in my real life am I going to need to use calculus? It's not a thing that I need to know every day. I never had to do it. When geography is important. I mean, there's a lot of important, like English, even though English is a terrible, terrible place to be. Not England, I'm talking about English class. If you had a good teacher, it was fun. If you had a teacher you did not like, it was boring. Okay. Next one. WWE today is better than it was in the Attitude Era. I don't know what you are talking about. That is not true also. It depends how you talk about better. If you're talking about better money-wise, probably. If you're talking about better quality matches, yes. If you're talking about better treatment of the woman, yes. But if we're talking about overall everything else WWE has done today, no, it's not better, because it's because it's honestly because back then WWE got away with a lot more blood, a little. They could have just got away with a lot more in the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era. But nowadays, there's no interesting stipulations. There's no. The Rock even has to tone down his promos now. And the worst part is that there's some things that just don't sit right with me about the current day wrestling that would have been allowed back then. Like, I don't support hitting women at all. But listen, the thing is, if a woman hits you, they don't even defend themselves nowadays. They just take it like, just block it. Just do something. No one should hit you. Just block it or so. You don't even have to hit back. You just gotta do this. Why are you just taking it head on just because you're a man, That's always upsetted me in some way, shape, or form. Next one, you don't need college to be successful. Honestly, this one I'll agree with. But this counts on if you were already smart before. If you are if you think you're just going to be successful and not be smart, if you're going to be successful without college, you have to either be really good at something, like, let's say, some people make money just simply recording themselves like I'm doing right now and playing video games. Others just by talking like I am. But that takes time and smarts to do. You don't need a college education for that. But you have to be smart and know what you're going to do, what's your plan to succeed. Like, if I just go in the world, it also depends on what kind of job you want. Like, if you want to be a teacher or something, or let's say a doctor, they're not going to hire someone without a doctor. That just ain't going to happen. It depends what you want to be, too. But I will say you don't need college to be successful. You need it to get more money, but that doesn't necessarily make you more successful. Because there's other things now. Like, you could play in like professional wrestling, or like sport, like minor league sports team if you're good enough. But okay, next one. Roman Reigns' title run dragged on way too long. I'm assuming you're talking about the Universal Championship one. And you want me to tell you what? I 100% agree. I 100% agree. It just went on. I was like, and I was more upset that Cody Rhodes had to win the Royal Rumble twice to do it when there's an Elimination Chamber. You could have very well made Drew McIntyre win the Royal Rumble, face Seth Rollins or CM Punk. When it faced Seth Rollins then, but we all know that he would get injured, but still, that's a lot better than what they came up with. The alternative was a lot better. It could have been Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Didn't need to happen twice at WrestleMania. You could have done it once at WrestleMania, one at SummerSlam. I know that would have been drawing out Roman Reigns' title run even longer, but you already pushed him so far. At that point, you should have just made him beat Bruno Sammartino's record. At that point, because you already were halfway there. Not halfway, but you were getting closer and closer to beating Hulk Hogan, and then Bruno Sammartino would have been next. Why not just go all the way, you know? And then Cody Rhodes' whole thing was winning the Universal Championship. And then, after Roman Reigns suddenly lost it, they just said, that title's no longer existing because Roman Reigns ain't holding it. It's going to be the WWE Champion now. Because instead of keeping both lineages of the title, because then that technically means John Cena would have been an 18-time champion and all this and that. Okay, the next one is The Rock promos aren't as good as people act like. No, that is just straight malarkey. I do not agree with this one at all. The Rock's promos are funny. That's what makes them good. If a promo makes you laugh, cry, feel emotional at the same time, you're doing your job. Okay. Roman Reigns. Oh no, not Roman Reigns again. Gunther is the best Intercontinental Champion ever. I'll agree with this. This one I'm willing to 100% agree on. Just like this one I'll 100% agree on. Simply because I like Gunther. He's my second favorite wrestler. And I do think he's one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time. Simply. I'm going to say, even maybe ever. Because he'd done a lot more with that title than most people have. The Honky Tonk Man had matches, they weren't good, but Gunther's matches were consistently good as champion. You know, I'll have to say, even the way he lost it to Sami Zayn was a bit goofy, but at least, you know, he had, like, classic matches with Sheamus, you know. He done a lot more than that. I know a lot of people would say Macho Man Randy Savage is probably the best ever, but for me, it's Gunther. Gunther was... Honestly, Gunther is... Next one. Tag team wrestling doesn't get the respect it deserves. In WWE, at least. I would say this is partly true. I'm not going to fully agree with it. I'm going to partially agree with it. On pay-per-views, they don't get enough attention. But unlike the minor shows and like the WrestleMania cards and stuff, they get the attention they deserve. So it's partially true. I'll partially agree with that. That means I also don't a bit. I think they get what they deserve, but they don't go on every show because there's only 5 matches. Okay, Drew McIntyre should have already had another world title run. This is something I can't agree on. Honestly, Drew McIntyre is my favorite wrestler and all, but it's simple fact that his character now just wouldn't work with him being as a champion unless you plan on turning him face, which I don't think WWE is planning to do. So, I disagree with this hot take, and this is coming from a Drew McIntyre fan. So you know, if I'm saying this, there's a reason for it. You know, goodbye.